Yeah. I know that guy.
All right, for those of you who do not know that music, you should, because we are interviewing today the amazing Pat Hilton. And
What's up? What's up?
this dude didn't give me an intro, so we're just winging it. He moved from
A place.
A lot of places.
Yeah,
I've lived in a lot of places.
all over the place, man.
Right. So
I met him when he lived in San Diego. He just moved to Texas. He went
Right.
all out. He's a badass dude. Like, he's making music for a lot of people, doing a lot of intros, a lot of theme music and stuff like that. And he has just been a complete badass. I mean,
man, I appreciate it. That's a hell of an intro. So I'm actually from St. Louis, Missouri originally, and I grew up. Yeah, and I grew up playing the trumpet in band. And I've actually said this on another interview too. And this girl, she's friends with me on Facebook still to this day. We had a choice in third grade. You could either be in computer class or in band class. And Michelle Abrams was going to be in band class. So you're damn right I signed up for band class. If you know what I'm saying. And so, yeah, it's like I grew up playing music. I grew up playing Jurassic Park and Star Wars, and all those leads are trumpet horn parts. And just grew up on music. My dad had a huge vinyl collection, and songwriting was always been a passion of mine. And moved up in the ranks working as a production manager for Tom Petty and Madonna and Billy Joel and all kinds of people after college. And I've just always been performing and setting up audio and booking my own tours when I'm not doing production. And when I was 30 years old, I moved to California and played gigs all up and down the coast for 5 years. Recently built my own digital marketing agency out of my music, making theme songs and podcast intros and advertisements and performing at conferences. And so what happened really was I learned this entrepreneur skill at a young age, but didn't know that the word to describe what I was doing was entrepreneur, which has become kind of a fancy term these days. And I've been good as an entrepreneur, but what I really need to make the transition to is a business owner. And there's a huge difference between entrepreneurs and business owners. There's a huge difference between business operators and business owners. And I think that I've been a one-man show for a long time. Even when I was a production manager, I was doing 6 different people's jobs. I was testing the speakers, testing the stage, testing the monitors. I mean, those right there, that's 4 people's jobs. And I was doing all of it because I wanted to, but there's a ceiling that you reach with these things, whether you're playing and singing gigs at the bar in California every week, or you're running gigs for Tom Petty. I can only be in so many places at one time. So the hard lesson here that I'm learning as I get older is I need to build a team of people that can help me produce content for people while I'm not in front of the computer.
Absolutely.
So since I started kind of breaking onto the entrepreneur online influencer scene, you know, I've had a lot of good things happen, and, you know, I've had a lot of bad things happen. I've met a lot of great people, and I've met a lot of not so great people. And the thing about the internet is that you can say you're anything on the internet, and no one will know any different because they don't know what they don't see. So, you know, that's been a hard reality for me, because I grew up working in the real world of the entertainment industry, working in the real world around real superstars. And so I'm not really intimidated walking up to Grant Cardone and closing him on playing his conference, or walking up to Gary Vaynerchuk and closing him on making a song for him, because I understand what it's like to present my personality authentically around people that are, you know, big names, because that's what I did practically my whole life. So, you know, I think what I'm getting at is, you know, we're all in a transition phase, no matter how big we think we are, or no matter how big we think the people we've worked with are. There's people who I've met who know me specifically for the comedy skits that I do. They didn't even know that I played guitar. I was in Phoenix the other weekend, like 2 months ago, And these people were like, yeah, man, I didn't know you like played guitar at like 10X Growth Con or anything. I mean, I just know you from the fake guru skits that you do online. I'm like, what? What? You know? Like,
Right.
so you never know how people are going to find out about you. And by the way, back to what I said about those people didn't know who Tom Petty was. There wasn't one person in that real estate office that had even heard of Tom Petty. I had to like run down names of people that I worked with. Madonna was the person that everyone knew about. So again, like what we might think that we've done in the past is super freaking relevant. Times change, man. Times change all the time. So we need to continue to reinvent ourselves. And that's part of the process I've been dealing with. And it's hard is I need to build a team around my skills so that I can have a real business operation when I'm not sitting right here in my little studio room. And that's why I left California and moved to Dallas, because the guys that I work with here in Dallas are all about structure and process and systems and all these things that I hate.
Bro,
I hate all of those things. And the reason why I was great at working for a company that had the system and the structure and the process in place is because all I had to do is show up with a clipboard and do the job for Madonna or do the job for Tom Petty. It was way more of a communication process than it was me actually being good at all these different things, if that makes sense. I was no better than the other computer engineers. I was just better at communicating with the artists than they were. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And we're talking to a guy that's saying skeet skeet in a hotel lobby via acoustic with senior citizens all around and did not give a single fuck about what was around him.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's all about presentation. You know, like the same thing with people are shocked sometimes. They're like, why would Grant Cardone trust you to be on stage? And it's like, well, because he understood the fact that I know how to flip the switch. I know when I can say fuck and be a jackass, and I know when it's inappropriate. Like you see me on Tuesdays, I broadcast with my friend Ty Lassiter. The things that I just said are unacceptable on that broadcast. I cannot do that on his real estate broadcast. He's like a high-level coach, speaks on stage with Grant and Tony Robbins and Damon John and JT Fox. And these are big name, high level coaches. I can't be on there skeeting around being an idiot. It doesn't work. The difference, this is a self-awareness thing. And that's why I love Gary so much. Not only because he, shares my song advertisements and stuff, but because his points are valid. So while I might make fun of gurus and stuff sometimes, a lot of the stuff that these people say is extremely spot on. And that's self-awareness, situational awareness too. I can't go on stage at the real estate conference and say stuff like what we just covered because it's unacceptable in that situation.
Right, absolutely.
But in the lobby after the event, when everyone's drunk, I can pretty much get away with anything. So, kind of like knowing when to be on offense and knowing when to be on defense are extremely important in these kinds of situations. And with being authentic, a lot of people are so worried about, well, I'm so scared about what people think that they can't even be themselves. They don't know how to flip back and forth from different, ways of presenting themselves or their message. So they get stuck in this one little pattern. And they go that way just because it's easier that way. Like, again, like I mentioned, I was at a real estate event performing 2 weekends ago in Houston or something like that. And I did my thing on stage like the first 2 days. And by the middle of the third day, it was pretty much like closing down. The vendors were closing down and stuff. And I grabbed my camera and I pulled it out and I started just doing funny skits with some of the business owners. 2 of those business owners that I did funny skits for have now closed deals with me to either host or perform at an event. So while it might look really stupid on the internet, it's kind of like an audition. If I can nail that on the spot and produce that video and have it up in 15 minutes in one take without having to redo it, well, what does that say about what I can bring to your event if I haven't even practiced and I was able to nail a comedy skit that, by the way, promotes your product.
Absolutely.
So while everyone else was, real, stepping on eggshells, trying to be, the big investor, the up and coming investor, I'm running around the hall with the guitar, singing about each vendor in the hallway. And I had a video up, 8.5-minute freestyle video about every single vendor. Well, I've never seen anybody do that at a business conference. It's completely absurd if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to a point where I'm literally advertising the event at the event while everyone else is worried about something completely different. I'm all about advertising every single thing I do.
That's like that video you made with Liz Benny at the Meltdown. And
Right.
we came back from lunch and we were like, what the fuck is going on?
And I'm so glad you brought her up, because Liz Benny actually changed my life, because I made that silly song with her on the break.
Yeah.
And she called me from New Zealand like a month or two later, and I was singing Brown Eyed Girl in the corner of the bar for a couple $100, stoning it out in the corner of the beach bar in San Diego. And she's like, dude, you're capable of so much more. You just need to make a few tweaks. And that was when I started targeting these different conferences and stuff. I got on stage, I played 10X. I repeated, I played that Meltdown conference all 3 times they ever had it. And it's just like, since then, I've changed my target from music fans and a music audience to taking my music and presenting it as a business product and as a business service where I can sing about your business and you pay me for it.
Right.
And it's just like, it's so hard to make money in music, dude. Like, even some of the people that I've mentioned in this conversation, dude, it's not like you would think they were making way more money than they actually were. You're like, yeah, I mean, Madonna killed it for a long time. But at the same time, those cycles, the music industry is a lot like the pro wrestling industry. Like, everyone has like a gear, right? And like the gear is working real good for a while, but eventually that gear starts to slow down. It's not as cool anymore. It's not as relevant anymore. It starts to age. And that gear gets taken out because these companies own the music and the licensing and the publishing rights to these artists. It's a business. Universal is owned by NBC. Why do you think that NBC American Idol winners get record contracts with Universal? Because they own it all. So when that person's gear, they pull that out and they bring you the new thing. Here's the new thing. Cardi B will be hot for a while. She'll be hot, doing her thing. She's rotating. She wins some awards. And eventually that gear will slow down. And it'll pop out and they'll put something else in. Stone Cold Steve Austin has talked about this. It's actually a really emotional interview. He's one of my favorite pro wrestlers, great entertainer. And he talks about how, his cycle was winding down. His body was breaking down. And, he knew that his time was limited in pro wrestling and that his gear would eventually be replaced by someone younger and faster. And, and that John Cena showed up. John Cena will eventually wind down. Like, this happens all the way across the board. And so I started thinking way more business wise. Where does my gear fit into the cycle with business owners? Because I can't just sing in the corner of the bar forever and think I'm magically going to get discovered. So that's how you guys found out about me, because I started thinking outside the musical box. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting you brought up Liz Benny, because she's probably the one person out of everybody that reached out to me and was like, you've got to use this to generate more income for your family, or you're not going to be able to sustain this as a business model. And she's totally right. And it's not like I'm making gazillions of dollars here, but I am surviving and I am doing it. So, while I love being goofy, I think that the more I'm on these podcasts, I gotta start presenting to people, A, how hard this really is, B, how long this really takes, and C, like, you gotta love what you're doing so much that you are like willing to die to make it.
See, and that's why we're doing this podcast right now. And our goal is to be non-PC, kind of deep dive down into people and more or less see what, like, who they truly are, what their passion is, what struggles they've been through, and then, kind of what woke them up and got them to be successful in their mind
Right.
at that point. And it's not about CEOs, business owners, musicians, comedians, whoever. It's about the struggles you've been through, and more or less like kind of awakening the people who are listening to this to
Right.
say, oh, I really want to do this, and then they have that fear that kind of blocks them, you know what I mean? And they don't ever go all in, and then they just work a 9 to 5 forever. And so,
and I think that, and the funny thing is that I remember I worked a job in high school at this place called Emo's Pizza. And I had some jobs on and off in between, but I don't think that I ever did anything from like 20 years old on, but like sing music gigs, work for artists, or like do some kind of musical advertising, something like the stuff that I'm doing now, I've been doing since I was in high school. I just didn't know that it was a business model until I started being around business owners and seeing, all right, well, this is the skill that you've trained yourself to do for 20 years, whether it's voiceovers or songs or video music production. I took those video and music production skills that I've had for so long that I did for American Idol, and I started making real estate shows for people. Like my friend Ty Lassiter's real estate show is really just me producing the same thing I did for NBC, only it's in his office in Southlake, and it's him talking about real estate, not Carrie Underwood winning a trophy. So, it's still me doing me. It's just I had to widen what I offer to people, like lengthen my menu from just theme songs to like full scale show production and stuff like that. And I had to move out of just doing music to business, because businesses have money, man. Like it sucks, dude, but you got to have money to live on this planet. So like you have to find a way to turn the skill and the passion and the fire and all that. It has to produce income or you will not survive. And that's where people get scared. How am I going to turn my passion into profit? It's a tough question. Well, you got to build a business. I think so many people are trying to build influence on the internet or build a following on the internet and then build a business later. I personally think that's a mistake. Russell Brunson, who's the CEO of ClickFunnels, and by the way, I use his product. Love you, Russell. But I disagree with what he presented one time, because he said, sell the product first, then build the product. Well, that might work for like an ebook or something like that, but I can't sell something that I can't deliver or over deliver on, or what are people going to say? Well, he sold me this product, and then once it showed up, it was a shitbag product because he tried to make it real quick to fulfill the orders, and it had no quality. If you don't develop the skill and then sell the product, I think you're going to be lacking quality. And the second that you lack quality today, with as quick as the internet moves, you're going to get smashed online, because people are going to be like, dude, I would have rather paid extra for this other product that was more expensive, that was similar, to get good quality, than the guy that sold me the product and then tried to develop it later because he didn't have the actual, product knowledge that needed to give me the quality that I needed. Does that make sense, or is that kind of backwards?
Yeah.
No,
like I maybe for some of the shit that he does that works, but if he sells a whole bunch of people ClickFunnels and they log on to ClickFunnels and it sucks, guess what the fuck they're gonna say? This is a garbage product.
Yeah.
And I use that product. I think it's sick. I pay for it every month, and it's not like I'm balling out of control. And I love that guy. But again, I don't agree with 100% of anything these people say. Grant Cardone is like my hero when it comes to entrepreneur. He put me on stage at a business conference when I'm still not like a big deal or I'm not Post Malone or anything. This guy took a chance on putting me on his stage, and he's all about, you know, cash is trash. Put all your money into real estate, which is great if you own Cardone Capital and you want everybody to invest in your fund, right? But if Pat doesn't get enough sales this month and he needs the cash to balance, cash isn't trash to me, bro. So while 9.9%, 99% of the time I agree with him, I don't have enough cash right now for it to be trash. So again, it's like all these people that we follow, Sean, I agree with 99% of the shit that Sean Whalen says. But there's always that one little thing where I'm like, hey, I can't even think of one right now because he's actually pretty close to 100% accurate, even though I do give him shit. There's always, you know, hope isn't a plan. While I agree that hope isn't a plan, without hope, how are you supposed to execute the plan and make it work? You still have to have this hope and this desire and this passion to make the plan work. So while he's right, it's like, well, you know, like the old Star Wars line, you know, well, rebellions are built on hope. So, you know, there's always a frickin' 1% rule with any of the stuff you hear that you got to think about what your situation is, what you believe, take all that advice that these people give you and use it. But at the same time, your road isn't going to be just like these other people's roads. Again, like 100% of the advice Sean gives on relationships have potentially saved my marriage about 700 different times. How about that? Like, don't do this, 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 this. Do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, boy, he's right. I'm going to do those 5 things. And guess what? The results are overwhelmingly in my favor when I listen to those things. So again, it's like, I bring these people up because I frickin' have learned so much from these people, but you gotta understand that you need to take that message and cater it to where you're going. You know, take that message and develop your own path with that stuff, because my path isn't the same as Sean or Grant or Russell or any of these people, but I can tell you that they've been in a lot of the same situations I've been in. Like today, I'm like waiting on a couple invoice payments. They're behind, which is okay. It's just the way it goes. And it's just like, you know, we need certain numbers to hit this month because we have a freaking kid to feed. And, you know, that's how a business works. You got to generate revenue or you don't really have a business. And some guy calls me up today, game's on the line, dude. And he's like, hey, man, I need you to MC and play live music at this event in Dallas. I needed the gig so bad, dude. And I called like 7 other people to get deals today, and nothing really came through. And this guy calls me out of the blue and needs me for a gig. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Like I planned on one of those 7 deals closing, and they didn't. And then this guy calls me out of the blue. So like, I really believe that if you push and you push and you push and you push, shit will fall into place. But it's going to happen in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days if you buy my fucking program is bullshit. It's complete garbage. So you got to be extremely careful about spending your money on somebody, especially if like the people that we've talked about today are very, very high level people that you can definitely take great advice from, right? I would put my name and advertise any one of the people that I've mentioned on this podcast. Give them your money. Right? But that's not just everybody. So again, it's like, I'm at a point in my life where I had a lot of fun, smoked a lot of weed, drank a lot of whiskey, hung out with a lot of fucking rock stars. But you know, what we're kind of getting into is this 20%. And Sean and I talked about this actually, is that he actually, this is a good coaching moment from Sean, is he was like, man, you always put out that 80% of Pat, that funny, the comedy, the sing-songing, happy thumbs up Pat. But you got to understand, I know you, okay? And I know that there's like this little 20% of you that's dark, that's business-oriented, that's precise, that's fucking savage. Put that out there, man. don't be afraid to talk about how fucking hard it is, or it's never going to get any easier. So again, it's like, I'm so glad that you have this little thing on the wall, because, you know, a lot of these people that are in the entrepreneur space are really, really good people. And I think that that can get overlooked sometimes because we see so many shithead gurus on the internet. It can be disappointing when you get around up into the higher level of this stuff, and everybody wants a piece of the pie, man. It's like that old song by Cypress Hill, do you want to be a rock superstar? You know, there's a lot of sharks out there looking to take a bite right now in this entrepreneur space, or, you know, funnel fuckers that want to rip somebody off. That doesn't make Russell a bad guy. It's not his fault. He just built the platform.
Right.
You know, just because, you know, certain people are shithead coaches, that's not Sean's fault. He just happens to present his product in a guru-esque way. That doesn't make him a shithead guru. So I think those two things can get confused. I think people can get turned away from this online space of entrepreneurship and business ownership, especially if they're artists and stuff like that, because they look at a lot of these people and they come off like they're all the same, but they're not. There's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And again, like I said, it'd be a whole lot easier for me to get on here and just sing with the guitar and be a fucking jackass. But I don't think that gives people the real value that they need to walk away from this podcast and be like, boy, that Pat Hilton actually has his shit together. You know, because this shit's not easy. Getting up on stage at 10X with no sound check, knowing that the guitar pack is going to cut in and out because they didn't fucking sound check you, is scary. Because who gets blamed for that? Not the sound guy, me. I'm the one who has to deal with that mistake. So if you bust your ass and you prepare, then it doesn't matter. That guitar pack could have cut out the whole time. I still would have entertained those people for 10 minutes. I would have done it a cappella. So how bad do you want it, right?
You know, funny enough, when Kevin went to the Meltdown in Arizona, I was extremely butthurt that he got to go and I didn't.
Oh, as you should be.
You know, and he's like sending me Snapchats left, right, and center. You're missing out. I'm like, you can go to hell. That's all I think of you right now. And he's like, you know who Pat Hilton is? I'm like, who the hell's Pat Hilton? Who is he? Oh, let me send you his videos and all this and that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he goes, you're not paying attention. I'm like, I'm at work. And I hate you right now.
Right.
And I mean, and that's one thing that me and Kevin really, really wanted to get down to the brass tacks is, well, is it as easy as people think it is when they see it on YouTube?
Right. It's not.
Facebook or Instagram. Because, I mean, me and Kevin know that it isn't easy, just with me and him trying to figure out when to get a Zoom message to go together and figuring out how to get YouTube channels running for ourselves. And it's a kick in the teeth sometimes.
It is, man. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing, like most of those things that I mentioned to you, I didn't get paid for those events. Like I did the Meltdown. All 3 times I performed at the Meltdown, I did it for free. Like all the stuff I've ever done for Grant, God bless the guy, I had to earn my stripes with that guy. He's not just going to start cutting checks to some goofball on Instagram. I made all that shit for free. I performed for free. All those high-level speakers, Michael Jordan's coach, Tim Grover, and Lightspeed VT CEO, Brad Lee, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, all those people spoke for free. Nobody got paid for that event because this dude's putting up millions of dollars for everyone to have that opportunity. So, you know, just like anything else in this world, Super Bowl performers don't get paid. Super Bowl performers do not get paid to be on the Super Bowl stage. They do it for free.
Unless they live Diddy out.
So, so again, I highly encourage you guys to think about this too, because you're going to have to do stuff that you don't get paid for. But at what point does that token bin, that free token bin run out. You can't do the shit for free forever, or you don't have a fucking business. You have a charity fund. And your skills that you've developed, like myself, for 20 years are worth monetary. They have a monetary value behind them. What is the monetary value? You don't just drive up to Starbucks and say, hey, give me a, super deluxe triple fucking noggin smasher, and they don't charge you $9.39. It's fucking $9 or you don't get the drink. That's how it works in the real world. They need to make that a drink.
Dude, I'm walking into Starbucks. I'm like, give me one of those vanilla bullshit.
Give me one of those noggin smashers. But it's realistically, they might have a day where everybody gets, a small black coffee for free on frickin' National Coffee Day. But let's face the facts, man. If they don't charge people money, they don't have a business.
Right.
So that's how it works. There's nothing wrong with doing certain stuff for exposure, but at some point that token bin runs out. And I've seen this with even the high level guys, is that they stop doing, a lot of these guys have stopped speaking at events because they're tired of showing up and speaking for free. They're tired of leaving their real businesses to go out and, provide value to the marketplace on stage, and not get compensated for it. Because a lot of these people that run real businesses, they don't need to pitch you on stage. See, you see what I'm getting at? A lot of these guys get on stage at these events, want to pitch you on their mastermind, because that's really how they're making their money. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Let's just be honest. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of real estate people I know that have masterminds and they help people get deals and stuff like that. Those people have real estate businesses. That's why they're able to teach you how to get more deals, because they have a portfolio of cash producing real estate. Those are great people to listen to. But, Johnny Bozo on Instagram with his freaking monthly Bozo group is not somebody that I'm going to give very much attention to. Everyone is a coach now. Everybody. I could start naming names of people that I've seen on Facebook and Instagram. It'd probably hack some people off because it doesn't make them bad people. But I wouldn't pay some of these people a fucking dime to coach me, because I've accomplished more than they have. They might make more money than me. But I mean, let's face the facts. One-on-one, 5 minutes, who's going to rock people's faces harder? The acoustic force wins, bro. Hands down. Unless you're Ed Sheeran, or you're Eminem or something like that. I'm going head to head with your ass. You know what I mean? Because I put the work in. I don't ever go on Instagram and say, I'm going to show you how to make 6 figures in a month, because I don't know how to do that in a month. My friend Ty Lassiter could show you how to do it with real estate, but you don't want to hear that from Pat. Pat's never fucking done it. See, and a lot of people are afraid to admit these things because they're so eager to sell you something, instead of, like we talk about, this self-awareness and this authenticity. This is the reason why I've been able to communicate well with high-level people, is because I don't act like I'm all that high level, because I'm really not. At the end of the day, I'm glad that people are fans of what I do and that my message resonates with people. But if you ever see Post Malone on an interview, he doesn't act like he's the shit. Like, if you ever see Justin Timberlake on like a late night show, like, that dude doesn't act like he's hot shit. That's part of the reason why I think he's hot shit. Over the years, I've become way bigger fans of people like that than people that act like they're hot shit. I was a huge fan of Conor McGregor for a long time, and he just went overboard. Like, he just went way overboard with it. I get it. That's his shtick. It was awesome when he was coming up and winning and stuff like that. But it got to a point where it was just like, all right, dude, well, I mean, you might want to be like, hey, I need to get in great shape and whoop some ass, instead of talking a whole bunch of shit and getting your fucking ass beat every time, because it's getting kind of old. You're drunk and smacking people at the bar now. Like if Pat acted like that, people would be like, yo, get your fucking shit together. You're being an asshole. But because it's Connor, it's like, oh, it's just Connor, man. It's like, no, dude, he's not setting a role model tone for anybody. So again, we need to think about who we're watching, how they're presenting themselves and stuff. Like, you know, Grant's kind of flamboyant sometimes, but dude, you know how much money that guy donates to like kids without fathers? We're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars. I'm not worried about how goofy he acts in front of his jet on Instagram. You know, so again, I think that it's important for people who are coming into this entrepreneur space to understand what they're getting into first. Entrepreneurs are designed to sell. They have to sell you something to survive, right? So all of you need a theme song from Pat Hilton if you want to survive. See, there you go. There's my pitch.
There you go.
Right?
There it is.
There it is. But at the same time, it's like, you know, while that is funny, and I do think that's a valid thing for people to have, especially with like audio being popular, it is what it is. Just because I do that, when I was younger, I was way more about, I'm going to kick everybody's ass, prove everybody wrong and this and that, until I realized that really no one's really ever rooted against me. People have said my ideas were stupid, but no one really ever rooted against me, I don't think. You know what I'm saying? I think some of that stuff is in our head.
Well, I think that's one thing me and Kevin are starting to find out is, you know, we've talked to a bunch of people now, and none of them is rooting against you. They all want you to succeed in your way. They don't want to kick you to the curb. They want to see what you can do. It may sound retarded or stupid,
right,
or a harebrained idea, but shit, try it. Let's go.
Right. And I think that that's something you got to understand at a young age, is that most of the people you're dealing with are dealing with the same hardships that you're dealing with. And this is where we go back to Sean. It's like, dude, attack that 20%, attack that darkness, dude. You're 80% freaking hysterical and energetic. But like, what about that other side of you that I've seen us talking backstage before events, or you being in tears in interviews or stuff like that? Explore that, because that developing that area of you is what's going to make you way, way, way better than you could ever possibly imagine. And so these fears and these doubts and these painful thoughts and this stuff like that, you got to let that stuff flow through you, and you need to embrace it and acknowledge it and talk about it, because pushing it away and saying, oh, it doesn't matter, no, blah, 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 I'm going to prove everybody wrong, dude, you're going to be fucking miserable, because it's going to eat you from the inside out. Telling you, dude. I know, because I've been around big time fucking rock stars, and I want to be a big time fucking rock star. I'd be a liar if I didn't sit here and say that. There's nothing wrong. You don't pick up a guitar as a kid or boxing gloves as a kid and not want to be the heavyweight champion or a Billboard #1 artist. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. Girls that are in bikini competitions aren't doing it to not be a fucking model. Right? So, I mean, it's just like, admit it then. It's hard, and the odds are probably not very good. But that doesn't mean that you can't succeed at it if you find a way. And again, I learned this way too late. If you learn, not too late, but way late. If you learn how to build a structure of business around what you love to do, then you have a way better shot at monetizing your passion than if you just frickin' throw darts at the wall and hope that you make it. Because for a long time, I think I threw a lot of darts, and boy, I hit some fucking strong shots. But it's been hard for me to string together wins, big wins, in a consistent basis. I have had some big wins. I've accomplished some cool ass shit. But as far as a business person, stringing together big wins consistently can be very challenging if you don't have any structure, if you don't have any people around you, if you're not getting coached by high-level people. I moved from California to Dallas when I had full-time gigs booked all month because I wanted to change the environment to a business environment so that I could grow. I had reached a ceiling in California. My childhood dream had been achieved. I made it as a big superstar in California, singing 5 nights a week at the bar, up all night, raising the kid during the day while my wife's teaching at preschool, exhausted and fucking miserable. And I lived right across the street from the nicest beach in the country. So sometimes what you think is your ultimate success ends up being a comfort zone. That struggle that I wanted since I was a kid, that was like this ultimate fucking rock and roll dream, ultimately became a comfort zone. I was comfortable living in an overpriced apartment, barely making ends meet, with no business structure, singing in the corner of the bars, when I'm way more capable of making theme songs for big companies, potentially being like a funny skit on like Jimmy Fallon or something every week, and having a business structure where I provide what I do as a service to real companies and organizations. I was selling myself short. I just didn't know it until I got there. And then I had to move into the next level. Just like with the audio service. When I was working for a company and I'm working for Tom Petty and Madonna, I wasn't even playing guitar as much then. I reached the highest level that you can possibly reach as a rock and roll production manager, and I quit. Because I knew that I could get to a higher level. So sometimes you have to hit the ceiling here to be able to jump over to the other side and then build the ceiling here so that you can eventually like blow through the top. And it's a process. And if you take anything away from this shit, it's like, man, find people that have accomplished what you want to do and get around those people. And that's easier said than done too. Because, dude, I used to smoke joints with these badass rock stars, and all of them told me the same thing. Why are you not monetizing you? And after a few years of them telling me this, I eventually quit that job and started being Pat the Acoustic Force. So it's a process. If you think that you're just going to buy some magical program and you're going to be freaking magically a $1 million earner in a year, it might happen. Again, maybe 1% of the time that happens. I'm telling you, it's going to be way harder than you think it is. And that shouldn't discourage you, because if you want to do it, you're going to do it anyway. So again, it'd be way easier for me to get on here and act like a fucking idiot, but I don't think that people are going to get the same amount of reality as if I explain how long I've been doing what I've been doing. Some of the people that I've met and kicked it with, you know, smoked it up, how long I've been singing gigs and producing my own events and my own marketing and all this kind of shit. I mean, the only reason why I got on Grant's stage is because I made promo songs in the corner of my 1-bedroom apartment. There was a fucking ugly blanket on the wall. Now I have this like awesome studio room in my house. Like I didn't have this before. I didn't have this before.
I actually saw all those promos and I was like, man, I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. And then you got on that stage. I was like, fuck yeah.
And I think that's a testament also to the fact that Grant actually backs up his word when he says, hey, you know, I won't be remembered for the money I make. I'll be remembered for the people that I helped.
Yeah.
So again, who are you actually listening to online? You know, you got the Seans, the Grants, the Andy Frisellas, the Ty Lasseters, the Ed Miletts, and, you know, there's this high level of about 100 people, and then there's everybody else. So, I would fire for the top 10 or the fucking top 25 if I were you. Because 99.9% of the shit they say you can apply right now and make your life better.
Absolutely. And I wanted to digress a little bit and ask you a couple of questions, Pat.
Yeah, man. Kind of rambling, but I'm pumped up.
No, dude, you're fucking.
It kind of felt like you've built this bubble, and everybody knows the Pat over here. But
you're right. Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. And again, it's like, you know, Sean and I talked about this, and it wasn't easy to accept, but real friends will reach out to you because they notice what you're putting out online. And they're like, and he messaged me, he was like, dude, there's so much more to you than what you're putting out. What you're doing right now is fucking easy for you. And that's why you're doing it. It's funny. Pat the Guru's hilarious. And the skit that you did for the real estate event is fucking genius. You made that up on the spot. Great job. But like, what about, you know, the 20 years that you've put in, and, you know, you freaking have all these lofty goals. You want to be on Jimmy Fallon. I've never heard you say, I want to be the weekly song guy on Jimmy Fallon before. Why haven't you ever fucking said that on a podcast? And I'm like, I don't know, man, because like, what if it doesn't work? What if it never happens? That's a pretty fucking lofty goal.
Well, that's where Dave Daly says you got to knock out fear in the first round.
I agree with Dave Daly. I love Dave. He's another name to add to
He
your
was one of
list.
our first episodes that we had.
He's a great guy.
It was such a good episode. Oh, it blew my mind.
That motherfucker's deep, isn't he?
Yeah.
Dude,
He'll pull your heart right out of your chest and be like, here's your heart.